been called into other hearings. I'm told he's going to do his questioning today entirely in Spanish, which should be exciting.
Muchas gracias, mi amigo. Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and to the ranking member. Appreciate both of you. And thanks to all of our witnesses that are here. Mr. Mamola, thanks for coming in to visit with me yesterday. And I do have to warn you before Hickenlooper gets out the room that you got to be careful with him because I think he's a geologist too. So you can't spoof him like you do the rest of us. You know, he knows his stuff. And he was a governor too, so we really like him a lot. So thanks again for being here. You know the story in the Bakken in my state. You know, when I was governor back there in 2000, there wasn't the horizontal drilling and the shale plays could be produced from a technological standpoint. You could get oil out of them, but you couldn't do it, you know, on a commercially viable basis. And so we actually started with our state geological survey to do that analysis. It actually had been done off some work Price had done in Colorado, in Senator Hickenlooper's state, which you're probably familiar with. And then we followed up at the state level and actually started making inroads in it. They tried in Montana a little bit because they thought maybe the geology was a little better. Proved it wasn't. Plus the fact they had more regulatory burden over there because we really created an environment with incentives and regulatory environment, favorable regulatory environment. But the geological analysis was critical. And then once we finally got it going, then we got U.S. Geological Survey to engage. And then once they did it, of course, then companies really started coming and took off. That was about 2006, 2008. Right. So it shows the importance of what you do in terms of producing more energy in this country. Because that was a critical, you know, it was critical. And I kept trying to get them to come in. And that's how we eventually did. So now we're in situations in the shale plays where we have to put legs on those shale plays, right, in the unconventional areas because of the declines in the curves and all that. So will you work with us and tell us how you'll work with us to make sure that we're able to go in with tertiary recovery methods? So, for example, pulling the CO2 off coal plants and putting it downhole for a CO2 flood. And talk about that, because this is a big deal if we're going to get to this energy dominance and sustain it. Talk to me about how you can help us get that done.
Okay, great question, Senator Hoeven, and thank you. When you add the North Dakota Geological Survey and the schools you have there to my Texas A&M and Penn State, we are ready to rock on these reserve estimates. So
no pun intended with the ready to rock bit. Yeah.
But Senator, the USGS, the more it's engaged with our industry, the better for both sides of that equation. Look, the USGS has a great ability to look at a map, produce a cross-section, and give us a 3D block view of that piece of real estate and the minerals and oil, gas, and other endowments in that. So in the case of North Dakota, I think if there was any hesitation, perhaps maybe part of that was not on federal land. Maybe they felt they wouldn't, yeah, but federal land, absolutely. That is the USGS Organic Act, okay? Go off of federal land, maybe it wasn't quite as okay. But if I'm confirmed, Senator Hoeven, I'm going out there and it's going to be all hands on deck for all lands, because there's no need or reason to strand a resource. And to your point on tertiary recovery, if we have excess carbon dioxide here and a need for it over here to drive tertiary recovery, we get a twofer. We take it from here and we put it over there. We don't want to waste our resources. Things that don't come out of the ground, Senator, as I said to you yesterday, their value is essentially zero.
Yeah, no, that's right on. It is a twofer. And would you commit to come out to North Dakota with me? We have intertwined. We have state. Fortunately, we have a lot of private, and I know that's a frustration for our chairman, is they have so much public. But we have a lot of private, and then we have state, and then we have Native American, and we have a lot of federal. And it's all intertwined. And one can impede the other if we don't all work together.
If confirmed, Senator, I commit to you to come up there and look at it, and I commit to the survey that we re-examine land ownership and maybe dispatch with the boundaries. They're more, as far as geology, they're kind of artificial anyway.
Right.
An ore deposit doesn't care where it's located, on federal, state, or private, but it's sitting there saying, wow, develop me. So this is something I'll look into, and you have my word on that.
Mr. Chairman, just one final quick question, if I can beg your indulgence. The geothermal, we're doing a lot more in geothermal. Is there any synergy that you see between the energy industry in terms of oil and gas and the geothermal opportunities?
Senator Hoeven, sometimes if you have an abandoned well in the oil industry, in the energy industry, or a gas well, oil well, whatever, that well maybe serves a dual purpose. Maybe it has another life, and it's deepened into the geothermal pool that's available. In North Dakota, I don't know, we're going to take a look at your geothermal resources there, okay? Then we're going to say, okay, if we can get this amount, then you have geothermal reserves. And then the easiest way to get to it is maybe use something that's already in place. Senator, if I may, it's kind of like mine tailings or metal mine dumps laying on the ground. To me, they're nothing but ore deposits on the surface. And it's the same with your geothermal resources there. If we can get at it an easier way, we should take advantage of it, absolutely, and you have my commitment to work with you on that.
Right, some of our wells are 2 miles deep, and then we go out vertically for 3 miles or more in multiple directions with 12 miles on one pad, so it might create some opportunities.
I think it's setting a stage for another energy play in North Dakota, i.e. geothermal.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Again, thanks, Mr. Chairman, appreciate it.
Senator Cortez Masto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Prohaska,